Welcome to another edition of All Octaves with me, Val Kleinhans. I've got the lovely A Minor in the building. Some of you might know her as Janae Sylvester. She's an indie pop R&B singer, songwriter that I did find on Instagram, and her voice is so smooth and pleasant to listen to. So A Minor, welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you. No, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and for this conversation.
Me too. So what made you gravitate towards singing to begin with?
I would say for me, it was two things. One, I grew up in a household that was always playing music.
Mm.
I grew up in a small town called Seymour in Connecticut, and it was predominantly white, so there weren't a lot of people of color and or Black people where I grew up. And so something that was important to my mom was to fill our home with Black culture. And a large part of that was music. So she used to buy so much music. Like now she's still even going through like tons and tons of CDs that she's, either giving away or trying to figure out what to do with them. But yeah, it was, old school music and soul music and Motown. It was Whitney Houston and, the big R&B and pop acts of that time. Michael Jackson, when I was a kid, they used to play to death, and even to hip hop, and Jay-Z, and then she likes R&B acts, Let Us See. And so there was always so much music being played. And I think the second piece of that was my dad is actually a singer-songwriter and a musician. So he had, when he was growing up, very much a family thing in the church. They all sang, a lot of them played instruments. My aunt taught him how to play piano. And so he kind of took that and was making music. He had his own production company at one point and played behind some bands. And so that was a part of my childhood and growing up, as well as being around him. He ended up being a music teacher kind of full-time and long-term. And so was always surrounded by music.
I love that. So what did he teach you that you sort of take with you as you go about your own journey today?
So much. I mean, I am always going to him to get his thoughts and serving as a sounding board. Funny enough, I can't say piano. And I know he's going to laugh about this, but I should know how to play piano really well, right? But he, for whatever reason, gave up on me and my brother a little bit early. So I dibble and I dabble, but don't play as well as I should. But again, piano was always kind of in and out and a part of our lives. We had guitars growing up, so I'm actually in an intro to guitar class again to kind of learn the basics again and
Oh,
and
cool.
do that. I play the ukulele, and a lot of that again just kind of came from seeing him and wanting to be able to play music and read music, and I think with kind of approaching music, I wanted to make sure that I also kind of had the business piece
Mm.
together as well. And so, when I was making music, I'm like, okay, I want it to be original. I want to understand how royalties work. I want to understand just like as much as I could about the business getting started, so that I had all of that in place going forward and I don't have to kind of like worry about those things. And I think, with seeing his production company, I created my own kind of production company and really tried to build out the foundation.
Yeah, so many musicians, that's really insightful because so many musicians get into these just nightmare contracts. And I'm thinking of like Tony Braxton, for example, right now. Oh my God, debt for
Yeah.
decades,
Yes.
decades, because they go into it for the love of music and knowing
Yes.
everything they can about music, but
Yes.
knowing nothing about the business aspect. So that was something that already interested you. How did you,
Yes.
what did you do to kind of teach you those initial basics of like, I don't know, how contracts work, for example, or the business side?
Yeah. And so I think a little bit I will say is attributed to I'm a marketer by day.
Oh,
And
got it.
so within some of the work that I do, I had to read through contracts, understand contracts, and work a lot with our legal teams. And so that helped me to kind of understand legalese and be more comfortable with it. I think in terms of learning about some of the other pieces of the industry, I watch a lot of different YouTube videos. I watch different
Yeah.
TikTok things. I read any articles I can find. and also using my resources. Of course, my dad, you know, he had copyrighted a lot of his music, so I would go to him like, okay, like should I do this? Is now the time? Or, you know, do I need to put this in place now? Can this wait? And so just kind of using the music resources that I have. And then I also have a few friends who are artists, and one of them was so kind, and I unprompted kind of sent me a list of like, okay, you need to sign up for Music Pro, and like, this is how you do that, and this is how you you know, just again make sure that you have all your royalties in place and that they're going to you, and make sure you copyright your music, and those combination of things I think has been invaluable. It's kind of using those people resources you have, and then of course the internet is king.
Right. There's so much information anymore. I mean, you can access it within seconds. And I
Yeah.
feel for the artists that didn't have that opportunity, because the internet is still like relatively new
Yeah.
and they're kind of learning as
No,
they go.
it's and I watched, you know, so many different documentaries and things on artists and how they came up. And there's always this constant theme, especially like you said, artists from the 90s and the early 2000s, which are kind of my favorite eras. Like they
Yes.
all, or not all, but a lot of them got screwed.
Oh my
And the contracts
God.
they were
Yes.
signing and the splits, and to hear some of the things. Even now I was looking at someone who, you know, signed to P. Diddy, and some of the back and forth with that, of them, you know, having to sign, you know, to get some royalties, having to sign away their ability to share their story. I mean, just being put in really, really tough situations.
Yeah, I've heard some things about Diddy too, man, with his contracts and how much, like, even just like I remember watching Making the Band growing up, like, and all the things that he put them through, all the ish they had to get through just to do this. I was like, really? Like, is
Just
this even legal? Like, even though it's
so
for TV? Like,
so wild, and like again made for great TV, but then to know that there was like, this is like, we're seeing like surface level, like go like having to walk
yeah,
across you know, New York City to get cheesecake is like the fun stuff. Like it's terrifying.
yeah.
And I think that's a part for me that I'm really grateful for, is the ability to be able to do so much independently and not have to be signed to a major label. Again, if that were to happen and it's the right contract and the right splits and all that, that's great. But to be able to like work with people locally, work with people through the internet, to develop music, to be able to put it out on my own, and it is just like an amazing thing. And I'm glad to be coming up in this era.
Yes, like
Certainly.
a lot to be grateful for. How much, when you do collaborate, how much of that is remote and how much of that is physically together in the same room, or is it a mix of both anymore?
Yeah, it's definitely a mix. I want to do more in-person things, and I've been kind of shifting to that. But I think particularly as I was kind of developing my first official project that I put out, which was my EP Time Machine, it was COVID, COVID
Oh,
times. And so I was working with a friend, but we were doing a lot of work just back and forth. We would have video chats. We would go back and forth via email. We're sending our files back and forth, and, oh, I think we should tweak this, and that's how we worked. And so, you know, but there were times, thankfully, where the person I was collaborating with on that project, my friend Paul Stats, I should give him a shout out. I actually flew. I was able to fly once it was more safe to do so, to Seattle, and we were able to like do a lot of tweaks and changes
oh, cool.
in person as well. So that was super cool. But then I've also been taking advantage of being able to work with artists who aren't local, or producers, engineers, and people who aren't necessarily local, but I just see a spark or something in them, and that they're, you know, really passionate about it like I am. And so in that way, I've been able to work with another producer. Her name is Lo Ray, and she's like done a couple of beats for me, and you know, it's kind of building her own base as a DJ, as a producer.
Got it.
And so, you know, I was like, okay, I think she's great. And I really wanted to also try to work with other Black women artists as much as I can. And so, yeah, you know, building relationships that way too.
I love that idea. How hard is it? Just because, I mean, I'm not fully immersed in the community, but I chose you because I love R&B too. Because I grew up in the same era, like
Yeah.
90s and early 2000s. I'm talking Ashanti. We're talking
Mhm.
like gold standard. So
Yeah.
I was curious, within the R&B community, or what is the climate like when it comes to collaborating with other Black female artists? They used to pit them against each other back in the day, like
Yeah.
like crazy. Is it like that anymore, or was that all smoke and mirrors?
I mean, I think I have found for the most part, when I go to collaborate with different artists, that they're excited about the opportunities. I haven't been able to do as much yet with other R&B artists. So I've been mostly focused on me, myself, and kind of
Got
establishing
it.
who I am as an artist. But I have worked with a rapper who's local, and just like a couple of other people in intermittent. I actually work with my cousin as well, who does R&B music, but I don't think that counts as, we have a good relationship already. But I will say in general, with just different people that I've met, it's it's not that competitive environment. And I think that the
Mm,
difference between that is most of us are, kind of building up our fan base, building and looking to build relationships, looking to do collaborations. I think that it's just in this day and time, like, you find that's more beneficial than not. And seeing different artists like Coco Jones, I just saw she did like a collaboration. It looked really cool. And it seems like it's something that isn't just about being like an independent artist, but also just across the board, just kind of embracing each other more. But
mhm. Yeah, it's like there's room for everybody attitude, which is
yeah,
good. It needed to be that. It should have been that 25 years ago. So what do you do to
exactly.
perfect your singing or make sure that your songs are on point and exactly what it is that you're looking for as an artist?
Well, I will say I come from the school of Beyonce, and that I'm also a Virgo. I'm a type A perfectionist. And I think a part of this is literally the opposite thing of what you said, but I think a part of what I have been trying to embrace is to not have it be perfect, and not
Mm.
and more so just about getting it out there. And I think, I could and I do, even within me trying to embrace that, spend days and days. I do most of my, or really all of my vocal production by myself.
Mhm.
And so, I'm always just, let me do another one. Let me do another one. Let me do another one. Let me try this harmony. Let me try it this way. Let me take this harmony out and put this over here. And like, oh, I don't like these lyrics. Let me move the lyrics around. And so, you know, I want to produce, something that I'm proud of, that I think I'm pushing myself to my vocal abilities, that is incorporating, I love that the influences of, again, this is a theme, but the late 90s and early
Mm.
2000s, early mid 2000s, and just some of the harmonies and vocal layers, like I want to like add that and kind of make that a part of things, even though, as I listen to different inspirations of today, it's like, oh, okay, like it's sometimes I'm like, oh, they don't have any harmonies, or it's like there's no ad libs, or just keeping it very basic. But I love that about music. And so that's something that I kind of look to include as I'm doing production. So, it's a mix of making sure I'm experimenting, making sure I'm getting my best picks in terms of what actually goes on the record, but also like having flexibility about making it about the creativity, about the emotion, and overall, does it feel good? Like maybe, like, oh, maybe I should have added that harmony back. Like you're always going to have those feelings, or, turn that down or put this effect on that. But like, are you happy with the overall product, and is it evoking the emotions that you wanted, and trying
Mhm.
to focus on that?
I definitely hear that. That makes so much sense. And I can tell that what you're doing is focusing on what your sound is. Not worried
Mm-hmm.
about anybody else. You're like, no, no, no. This is how I'm gonna do it. This is how my sound is going to come into your ears. When I was
Yeah.
checking out your website earlier, I saw the song Happy, and I was like, oh, this is about to be an Ashanti cover. This is about to be an Ashanti cover. No, it wasn't. It was you. It
No.
was original, but it was a little bit more electronic, but it was
Yes.
you. So
Yes.
I was like, okay, this is something that it's refreshing. It's a little bit different. And
Yeah.
talk a little bit about your influences there,
Yeah.
Rihanna, Sierra, Billie
Yeah.
Eilish. So I just
Yes.
wanted to ask, just for fun, desert
Yeah.
island situation. You have to choose one of them that they're one of their sets of music that you're taking with you to that desert island. Who are you choosing? It can be their whole catalog, but it's got to be one.
Okay. Out of those, so you said Billie Eilish,
Sierra and Rihanna.
Sierra, and Rihanna.
Hmm.
I am going with Rihanna.
Yes. Well, she's more eclectic. There's a mood and
Yes.
sound. Got it. There's a mood and a sound for every single thing she does. I was reminded of that at the halftime show last year. I was like,
Yes.
oh my God. And I didn't understand why everybody was hating on that halftime show because the woman is pregnant. The woman
I
was
no,
pregnant
I
at the
yes,
time.
I loved it in all of my circles, loved it. And yes, and it's like she's pregnant. Like, what do you want her to do? Backflips? Like, it's probably not possible at this point in time.
No.
But I think what you got at there is exactly why I would choose her catalog. Is it's like it's so eclectic. It crosses over genres. She doesn't have boundaries, and it all still works together at the same time. I think that's something that I really look to and aspire to because I love R&B music and you're always going to hear the R&B influences. But like you said, I also like kind of adding kind of electronic sound in there. I love acoustic music. I love pop music um, but I have so many other influences and I don't want it to be like, okay, Janae, like she just does R&B or she just does
Mm.
pop or she just does rock. Like I might give you something a little edgy that's like a little bit closer to a rock record. I might give you something that's more R&B. And of course, like R&B will always be my center and my inspirations really come from there. But I just love that. And that's I want to have that ability to kind of cross genres.
Absolutely. Is that why you love open mics? Because I was seeing on Instagram, you're not afraid to grind it out at an open
Mm,
mic and do your thing there. Is that
yeah.
your chance to try out different things or hone your skills? What do you think open mics are so important? Because some people are like, I'm not doing that, and some swear by it.
No, I certainly swear by it. I think especially for anybody who is trying to do music or does music and can relate. I grew up with such stage fright.
Mm.
And I can be in my house or with my parents and I'm like tearing it down, giving you all the feels and everything. And then I would get in front of people and it's like, just cracking from just pure fear and adrenaline. And so I think that it's like just important to, especially if you have that stage fright, you have to keep pushing against it and making sure that you're constantly performing, that you're staying comfortable, that you're understanding how to kind of work a room and a space. And I think and so in those in between times where I don't have like a performance scheduled or something like that, and even if I do, like I love going to those open mics to make sure that I'm not letting that stage fright creep in. But also to your point, just being able to um, just test the boundaries. I haven't posted it yet, but I did a cover of Somewhere Over the Rainbow at the last open mic. And,
Oh, cool.
that's like, not that it has nothing to do with my music, but it kind of is a strong departure from it. But it was just something, it's a song that I've always loved. I was like auditioning for an a cappella group in high school and it was a song that I sang and I was like, you know what, like I want to try to sing it in a higher octave where I am
Mm.
purposely kind of making myself uncomfortable, but I know I can do it. But I want to test it out in the space, and especially the main open mic that I go to is where I live, and it just is a comfortable and a safe space to kind of share and stretch your boundaries, stretch your wings. And so, yeah, I will always stand by open mics. I think they're amazing, and to be able to share with other artists who are sharing and just feel that energy, like you can't go wrong.
Absolutely not. And great song choice. I mean, that's a classic. Anybody is
Yeah.
going to want to listen to that. I don't care who it is. I don't care how bad it is. I mean, honestly,
Right.
who doesn't want to listen to that? Who doesn't want that nostalgia behind that song? I love
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
By the time the world hears this, Back Where We Belong is going to be out. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm really excited about this record. I think um it's a more kind of like pop focused record, and acoustic based. Um and it's about being kind of you're in a relationship and you can feel that something's off,
Mm,
but your partner isn't ready to acknowledge it. And so you're trying to figure out how you get back to where you should be, where you're in a good space, you're in sync, you're aligned, and just exploring those emotions. And, with this record, I wanted it to be, I think when I made my first EP, Time Machine, it was, again, it was like me just like getting the emotions out, getting the creativity out. I wasn't as focused on how accessible it is or things like that. And I think as I'm kind of growing in what I'm kind of putting out there, um, I want people to really be able to connect to it. And so yeah, I'm super excited about it. We're actually shooting, I'm working with a student run record label right now. It's more of like a partnership.
mm.
And so my Rain Records team, they're like putting together a music video currently. So we're going to be shooting that on Thursday. And yeah, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, that's really cool. So you work with students a little bit. How are
Yeah.
they doing? Are they the future of music? I guess you kind of get like a little bit of a sneak peek into what are they
Yes.
into? What are they looking forward to?
No, it's really exciting to work with them and to get their creative energy. They are, yeah, I'm working, it's again, Rain Records, and they're at the University of New Haven. And they're students who are in
Mm, okay.
a music program essentially. So a lot of them are looking to do music, the music, like kind of move into the music business. Some of them also, are looking to do that, and they sing and they play instruments, and it's really great to be around that energy. And so, I'm always kind of joking with them as they're like helping me like create social content. I'm like, okay, is like this cool? Like, is this, like hip today? I'm a few years out from college. But yeah, I think they, and even with my record, like they'll give me feedback of like, oh, we love it, but maybe you should double your vocals here, or things like that. And so
Mm,
it's been a great process, and they've been really supportive with more like the marketing and kind of video production and things like that. So no,
cool.
it's great.
I love it. I mean, when I saw Billie Eilish blow up, my theory was we're gonna hear more of an electronic sound through just across the genres.
Mhm.
Any truth to that and what you're seeing with what they're into?
Um, it's funny, like looking at like talking to them and like looking at some of their Instagram and things. I don't see that as much. I see they're still into a lot of like the pop acts. So
Oh, got it.
one, yeah, and maybe I think it's like, I mean, they're definitely Gen Z, but it was like, oh my gosh, who was the lead for One Direction?
Oh, Harry Styles.
Harry Styles, yeah, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Harry Styles, the Jonas Brothers.
Ah, they're
It's
hanging on
like
to that.
it's funny. Yeah. So it's like not as
Okay.
I'm not as far out the loop as I thought is like what I get from them.
Okay.
But maybe also it's like college kids versus maybe high school kids. Like there may be more of like a difference there.
Oh,
Even
okay.
her being in like one of the students being into the Jonas Brothers, I'm like, okay, she's probably at the very tail end of like that era and things like that. So yeah, it's interesting.
I know I can't talk. I'm one to talk because I will still bump some Spice Girls and Britney and NSYNC and all day, every day. I will go as deep as Bewitched. Okay, like
No, that is absolutely like love them. And they're such an inspiration to me. It's like as much as I love, and I do love, it was like Destiny's Child and Beyonce and Ashanti
yeah,
Sierra's Rihanna's, or I really put them in a kind of crossover, but it's like all the pop girls, like my first CD was Britney Spears, Baby One More Time,
yeah.
and Spice Girls loved. I was just like doing a cover of something and it brought up like this S Club 7 song. And I was like, oh my God, like I have to do a cover of this next, like looking at the chords. So no, I'm so like they're such inspirations for me. And I love music that is coming from the heart. And it doesn't always, I'm again, sometimes I want to do a faster record, or maybe something that's, not necessarily, but at my core and at my base, like I love music that's telling a story that makes you feel, that pulls at your heartstrings, that you can relate to, or if you can't, you feel like you can. Like I love those records, and all of the pop girlies and the R&B girlies,
Yes.
especially during that time, were giving us those types of records.
Queens, truly. So we talked a little bit about Back Where We Belong. What else is new? What else are you looking forward to? What can we get excited about?
Yeah, so I think definitely once we release Back Where We Belong, so that's going to be, I guess, after this podcast. So check that out. It's on going to be on all streaming services. We're working on the video, and so that'll come out probably in maybe like early January. We don't want it to get lost in the Christmas
Mm.
kind of holiday back half of December, but probably in early January. So I'm excited to share that with the world. And that's going to be done by a student director. So it'll be exciting to kind of see, I've already seen some of the treatments and things that she's come up with. So it'll be really cool to see that final product. And then I actually also am a part of a duo. We call ourselves the Sylvesters after our last name, and
Oh, fun.
we do holiday music. So hopefully this will come out, in early December, and you can check out our holiday music. It's called A Sylvester Christmas is our EP. And, so we're just still promoting that, and may do, a performance or two in the next month or so. And we have a music video that we just finished shooting yesterday for the original song, which is called The Gift. So trying to stay busy, still going to do a couple open mics in December as well. And looking to get some performances on the books for next year.
Cool. I can't wait to see it all. Thank you so much, A Minor. Thank you so much for being here and doing your thing
Thank
and sharing it
you.
with us.
No, thank you so much for having me. This was really great, and I think you're great at what you do. And I was able to listen to your show, so I will certainly, you have a new fan as well.
Oh, yay. Thank you.